Welcome back, everybody. This is Hutch from Hutch High Perf. Today we're working on adjusting valves. Let's get going. All right, first things first, we'll get my homemade Valley baffle tray, whatever you want to call it. Put a little red Loctite on the bolts. Really couldn't find a torque spec for this because they're just little tiny, they're 1/4 bolts. So, a little red Loctite. I want to keep them where they're at. I'm just going to snug them down by feel, what I think is good. There we go. I found online for a bolt this size, I think the torque spec was like 5 foot-pounds or something crazy, and I don't have anything to go that low, so it's red Loctite and snug. That ought to work. Here are the Morel roller lifters, and you've seen them before. I figured I would show them. Look at the case they came in. You know, as much as you have to spend to get these, and they should come packed nice. Anyway, I'm going to get these out and clean them. Quick tip. It said in the instructions that there is some type of grease that they pre-lube the roller balls in. So those rollers have little bearings in them, and those are pre-lubed at the factory. Do not submerge your brand new roller lifters all the way in cleaner, because it'll wash that stuff away and it just causes premature wear. So you clean the outside of them, that's it, and you put them in. All right, with it cleaned off, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of assembly lube on this. Make sure they go down in the bores nice and slick. Make sure the roller's got a little on there too. The bars go out. So when they go in their respective holes, bars on the outside. All right, just 7 more to go. Next come the push rods. So we'll just do it right here. Get some assembly lube right on the tips of the balls there. And we'll just throw these in. Spider webs. Next are the rockers. What I like to do for them is just so, because they're going to sit for a little bit, I like putting a little, I just take a little lightweight oil and I put it around that trunnion, and then some back here on the roller ball. Just enough to keep it lubed. The bearings in there. All right, so let me talk real quick about adjusting valves. As I used to do it very different than how I do it now. So I was very much in the camp. Lifters go into some type of container, bucket oil, whatever you want to call it, and then I'd let them soak overnight. Let them soak overnight, fill up. Next day I would come in, then I would be ready to install the lifters, push rods, rocker arms, and then I would start my adjustment procedure. Hydraulic, where there's flat tappet or roller, you can adjust them without having to run the engine. You can run the engine and do it, which is basically while the engine is running, you're making a mess everywhere, or you got some piece of cardboard in here trying to hold back the oil and everything else, and you're loosening one valve at a time, and you loosen until it starts to clack, and then you turn it back down, and that's where you would kind of get your adjustment from. Hydraulic valves, you don't need to do that. You can do this cold on the engine. In fact, I looked on Morel's website, and their recommendation is once you get them to zero lash, and I'll explain that in a minute, once you get it to zero lash, then it's for cast iron block with aluminum heads, it was 35 thousandths preload, which means once you get it to, so let's do it out here. So this push rod, I can spin it and I can move it up and down. So we're basically tightening down our rocker arm until I can still turn the valve, but all of the play is gone. And I can feel that there's engagement on both sides. I mean, it turns, but it's got just the tiniest bit of drag on it, all right? That is at zero lash. Then what you do is from here, you would turn the nut back down 35 thousandths, and that would preload the spring and cup that's inside of your hydraulic lifter. 35 thousandths just happens to be just under 3/4 of a turn. So each one of these, I'm going to give them 3/4 turn, and then we'll be good to go. But so let me loosen this back up so I can explain. All right. Before, I would do it like most everybody does, which is still acceptable, still a perfectly good way to do it. It's basically doing the exact same thing as I'm going to do it when I show you now, which was to turn your number one cylinder to top dead center, which means both lobes are going to be on the base circle of the cam. Both valves are going to be shut, and the piston is coming up to the top of the stroke. So with that done, I can sit and I can adjust these two to zero lash, put in my 35 thousandths turn, lock them down, and then I could rotate it 90 degrees and go through the entire firing order, 1-8-4-3-6-5-7-2, or in my case, it's 1-8-7-3-6-5-4-2, because it's a 4-7 swap. So that is how I did it forever and a day. And it works. And it works. Then in 2016 was when he made the video. I can't remember when I saw it. There's a video from Ellison's Machine Shop. And he said that he'd been building engines since he was basically, I don't know, 17, 19 years old. He's been working in a machine shop, and he apprenticed and did all his work, got good, opened his own shop. And that's what he's been doing for 40 years. I don't know. So he said for the longest time, he was a one-man show. So when he got into the shop to adjust valves, he was doing it that traditional way. Turn it till you get this up on top dead center. Both valves are closed. Lobes are on the base circle. Adjust 1, 90 degrees, and go. You adjust 8, and then you just go through your firing order, and then you're done. What he said was happening with him was, and I'm going to put a link for the video that I'm talking about down in the description. It's got like 1.3 million views, so yeah, you might have already seen it. So he said what he would do is he would be in the middle of adjusting valves, and he'd have to take a phone call, go talk to a customer at the front desk, be pulled off for whatever reason, and then he would come back and he's like, daggone it, I can't remember where I was. What cylinder have I done? What have I not done? So he devised a very simplistic way. As soon as I saw the video, it was like someone smacked me in the back of the head. I was just like, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I don't understand why. So what he does is he starts, and it doesn't matter where he starts. He just starts at a clocked point on the crank, and he takes all of the lifters and adjusts the rockers until he's at 0 lash. So he adjusts everything to 0 lash. Now, you would think that doesn't make sense because some of them are up on the lift. How you can't adjust it that way. But what he does is he adjusts all of them until they're all at 0 lash, right? None of this movement, none of this play. Gets them all to 0 lash, 90 degrees. And then from that point on, all you're doing is going around any rocker arm like is loose and is not at 0 lash. He tightens that one until there's no more play, and he's at 0 lash. And then he goes another 90 degrees, and he checks all the loose ones again. Any loose ones goes to goes to the 0 mark. I mean, it's you're doing the same thing, but you're not having to keep track of where you're at, because it's only going to be loose as it comes down. Like if you happen to catch it right at the very top of the lift, and you tighten this down to 0 lash, and then you rotate it 90 degrees. Well, now the camshaft's coming back off the other side of the cam lobe, and the lifter's going back down, so it's loosening back up. At some point, it's going to be on the base circle during that 90 degree check, and it's going to be loose, and you're going to adjust it to 0 lash, and then when you go back another 90 degrees, that one's never loose again, because now it's not. You caught it on the base circle, and you've gotten it to 0 lash, and now it's pushing the plunger down because it's back up on the lobe. But it never gets loose again. It's going to always be at your 0 lash. So the way he does it, he does not lube the lifters. He doesn't put them in anything. He puts them in dry. I mean, you lube the outside of it so it goes down the bore. But he puts them in dry, so that way you're not fighting this hard lifter that's full of oil. You're fighting just the spring, and the spring it's fine. It's I don't know why I like when he said it, it just like it went off in my head. I was like, I can't. That makes perfect sense. So then you go through 2 full rotations of the crankshaft, 90 degrees at a time. 90 check, 90 check, 90 check, 90 check, and then do that again for a whole rotation. You can even go more than that if you're paranoid or anal retentive like I am, and I probably will. You just keep going. You can do an extra 2 90s if you want to, and just make sure everything is at 0 lash. Once you have everything 0 lashed, then you just tighten every single one at the same time. You're 3/4 turn down. They're all preloaded and all ready to go. Put the valve covers on and fire it up when it's ready to go. I saw that and I was just like, daggone, that's so obvious and so simple. I'm amazed that I went that long in my life and never heard of it. But there it is. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab a wrench for these, and I'm just going to, in fact, probably most of them I can do finger tight, and it'll be where it needs to be. But I'm just going to go and rotate every 90, and then just check for check for tightness. Get everything at 0 lash and just keep doing that until there's no more loose push rods and you're ready to go. It's so simple. All right, so now we're going to take it 90 degrees. And that's it. And we'll check them again. Yeah, there's a loose one. Yeah. This is ingenious. It's so simple. Another 90. One more, just for good luck. That's pretty much it. I have hit all of the cam lobes on the base circle for every valve. So now we've got 0 lash on everything. So now all I got to do, 3/4 of a turn and tighten them down. That's it. I put the valve covers on, start this bad boy up. Feel pretty confident there everything's going to run fine. This is so much easier, I think, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to have to walk away and come back. Nothing wrong with the old way. Nothing wrong with the way. Starting with number 1 cylinder, put it on the heel, adjust the 2, 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2, just like I said. You can adjust them that way. It's going to be the same thing. If you've got the time, why not? Doesn't matter. But man, this was so easy. And it didn't require any real thinking. I just had to remember to turn it 90 degrees after I checked all 16 and go to the next. I like it. I really do. So if you've never seen these before, these are called poly locks. So like a normal nut that you would see on a rocker arm, they're they're splined to the top to where they provide some resistance. So when you tighten them down, that's all you do is you tighten them in place and you're done. These will just, they move freely. So they have a center adjuster that you tighten down, and it puts pressure against the top of the rocker arm stud, and that's what holds it in place. So we go around, we've got to do almost 3/4 of the turn, and then what I do, tighten my poly all the way down, and then done. Tightened in place. So let me just do the rest of them, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, with all of them adjusted up, let's give it a little turn around. Beautiful. Well, that's it for this one. Got the valves adjusted, and that procedure from Ellison Machine Shop is just, well, it's just easier to do, I think. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Give me a comment. Let me know. Anyway, so that's all I got. Do all the things. You know what to do. Like, subscribe. There's a super thanks if you want to help out a bit. Go to my t-shirt shop. Find something you like. Money goes back into the project. It's all good. Anyway, appreciate you being here. That's all I've got. This is Hutch from Hutch High Perf. Take it easy, guys.